8:23, welcome back to Tuesday morning, our first Tuesday here in 2018. And if you're getting a jump start on our new year, perhaps some changes, what about the job outlook? Debby Carreau is back, our HR expert, and we're talking about this idea if we're in the mindset, potentially getting a new job, when do you know? What are the true signs that it's time for a change?
Well, this is one of the things in the new year. We're all looking for fresh starts, and one of the natural things to look at is looking at a new career. So how do you really know that it's not just a resolution and it's time to actually switch jobs? There's a few things. The first is, do you really dread going to work? So we all kind of have days where we don't feel like going to work, but do you truly get anxious or depressed or stay up all night just thinking about, oh my goodness, I don't want to go to work tomorrow? That's definitely a sign.
What about the procrastination factor of just we have a good intention, but we are consistently putting things off?
That's another one too, is if you find you're sort of going through your whole day and you're not really getting anything done, you're just sort of staring into space, or you're looking at Facebook all day and you're just really not motivated to do anything, that's usually a sign it's time to move on.
The growth factor, big key in this?
That's a huge one. So if you're sort of seeing that your career is stalled, that either they're not noticing your potential or there's nowhere to grow and there's nowhere to move upwards, absolutely that's one as well. It's time to move on if you can't move up.
What are some signs of the impact the work environment or work culture can have on this decision to create change?
So if it's ever negative, you want to get out right away. So if there's harassment, discrimination, bullying, I mean, the reality is it's not worth your health to risk. If it's a horrible, toxic work environment, you definitely want to get out.
Okay, and the idea of being recruited, I mean, this can actively happen when you have a job. It's always easier to get a job when you have a job. We've heard that age-old adage. How do you handle the idea of recruitment and possibly the boss finding out that, hey, there could be a new potential job in the mix?
So a couple things is it's really common today to actually get called by recruiters. Most employers will know that their employees are getting called, and if it is time for you to move on, if you have a great boss, ideally you have a conversation with them and say, I am exploring other opportunities, I love it here, but I need to get to the next level. But we also know that most of the time that's not realistic, and you can't actually tell your boss in advance. So then what I say is just make sure that you're professional. We do sort of understand that people are going to talk to recruiters. You need to understand what your market rate is. Are you able to get a more senior position somewhere else? Or is there something that's just a better fit for you? But don't go out of your way to lie to your boss. Be honest if you can.
Do you find this is a real common time when people are evaluating where they want to go with their life, that January is the month where job transitions are really happening?
It's huge. So there's a couple reasons. First of all, many people get paid out a year-end bonus, so they actually wait the year, even if they want to leave, until they get their bonus, and then they move on. The other thing is a lot of companies get a new budget this time of year, and that's when they add positions. So if you look at any job boards, typically the last couple weeks of January and the first couple weeks of February are when the most jobs are posted of the whole entire year. So if you're going to make a move, that's a good time to look.
Okay, and you also have some great advice on how to quit the job without burning bridges, and there's a whole board of tips, and we can bring these up to take a look and go through the list, because you want to end on a good note if it is time for a change. But take us through these of some of the key points.
Perfect. So the first one is make sure you tell your boss in person and put it in writing. So if you know you're going to resign, make an appointment with your boss to actually sit down and have a conversation about it. Be brief, and then have your written resignation ready to go. Not only is it common courtesy, but it's also important long after you and your boss are gone that there's a written record of when you worked there, and more importantly, that you left of your own accord. The second one is give appropriate notice and offer to help. So if your employment contract says that you have to give 2 weeks or a month notice, make sure that you follow that. And if you don't have any guidelines, it's always a good idea to give 2 weeks notice, just common courtesy. The third one is do your homework. So many people don't do this, and this is where things can go wrong. So read your employment contract, not just for your notice period, but do you have a non-compete in there? Do you have a non-solicit so you can't take your clients or other staff members with you? This can really get you in hot water if you don't follow those. And then the other thing is make sure you also know some companies will have in there that if you have a bonus payout, if you're not working there, you won't get it. Or if you want to transition your life insurance, you have a 30-day window to do it. Make sure you know those things, because if you don't, you can be expecting some funds that you're just not going to get.
You know, this last note, if you can jump to it, asking for a reference when you leave, how important is it to get that reference letter in writing as opposed to saying, will you be my reference, and just have somebody call that boss, your current boss, when the time is right?
So chances are they're going to call as well, but you really want the reference letter for a couple reasons. One is its documentation, so you do actually have the proof. And more importantly, more and more people are changing jobs today, so you really want to be able to find someone at that last employer. The biggest challenge we find is we want to contact a previous employer from 2, 3, 5 years ago. You call and no one remembers you there. So having that reference letter not only shows you have a good job, but it is that record in case you can't find someone.
Great information and advice if we're looking for change in 2018. Debbie, thanks for coming on as always.
Thanks for having me, Raz.
There you see the website, inspiredhr.ca, that can potentially help with the transition in 2018. We'll take a break.